Hey gang, welcome to It's Still Called Today, a ministry of encouragement. And as I promised, I'm back. This is the second video. I'm trying to play catch up for the sermon series. This is part 2 of What is the Gospel, preached by one of our elders named Jordan. If you have not seen the first video, you need to go back and watch it, because there he lays a foundation that he builds this framework on. And that foundation, you need to see that before you can get a hold of what he's saying here. But in this sermon, he breaks down 4 popular versions of what the gospel is. One is, just a couple of the Reformation, the gospel view from a Reformation standpoint. Another one is a gospel view from the health and prosperity standpoint. And that's just a couple. I did those to get your attention. But what he has to say here is amazing. And I really enjoyed it. And I wrote down 2 things here. When he said how we understand the gospel will affect how we read Scripture. And that's a fact. How you understand the gospel will affect how you read Scripture. Because if you're looking at it from one point, you're going to find scriptures that support that view. And if you're looking at it from another point, you're going to do exactly the same. The second thing he said that stopped me in my tracks is that our worldview changes the gospel. And that's sad but true, but it's a human trait. When we go to read Scripture, when we go to understand the gospel, we bring our worldview into it. When we sit down to study Scripture, we bring our politics, we bring our economic background, we bring all of those things into Scripture, instead of letting Scripture bring things into us. We read it with a bias. It's very interesting what he had to say right here, and it's food for thought. When we study Scripture, there's 2 ways to do it. There's eisegetically, and that comes from a Greek word that means to lead in. And there's exegetically, and that comes from a Greek word that means to lead out. Now, to lead in is when you go through and pick out a Scripture here and there that kind of buttresses your point of view. You're leading in your meaning to Scripture by picking out certain things. But being exegetical means you read the entire passage and you try to understand what was being said to the recipients and how it would have hit their ears in their first century culture or wherever they were when it was being read. Another word for that is expository. We can study the Bible expositorially, which is how I do it. I read an entire book of the Bible, and I will read a chapter in one translation, and I'll go back and read it in another translation, so I can try to get my head around it. I've got commentaries and things right here to help me when I can't get it all together. But those are just 2 things that he mentioned that just kind of blew me away. This is a fantastic sermon. I enjoyed it greatly, and I hope you enjoy it too. And like I said, if you haven't watched the first video, watch the first video and then watch this one and tell me what you think. I want to say this, it starts around timestamp of about 40, 41, somewhere around there. So if you don't want to watch the worship service, you can kind of skip over to that. But anyway, thanks for watching, and remember to encourage each other daily while it's still called today. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful day.